I'd say like my family is starting the meal at 12 o'clock at this place, and that's not really
If she asks you where you are, you can tell her. Where you're going to be. You can tell her.
I can't there.
Upstairs? Yeah, the last session we defined, the first trait of a leader, which is anova. We learned that from Moshe Rabbeinu. We defined anova as it's not about personal ambition whatsoever. It's all about the cause. Moshe Rabbeinu was arguing with Hashem that he's the last person that should be going to Paro. If it's about you, that's not leadership. If it's about you, you're going to make the wrong decisions, because the decisions are going to be based on what's good for you. At least you think so. Okay, what comes next? I'm not sure if this is in chronological order. Anova is definitely first, no question about it. There's the classic midrash that explains how Moshe got to Har Sinai. Remember, that's where he saw the burning bush. What was he doing there? The Medrash says he was a shepherd. He was tending to the sheep of his father-in-law, and one of the sheep ran away. He went chasing after it. And the sheep apparently saw water. And Moshe realized that the reason it ran away was not as an act of rebellion. It was, poor thing was thirsty. So he personally lifted it, gave it to drink. What's the matter, story? There's no such thing as a leader without compassion. And here we're talking about compassion for him. She. You gotta have a heart for others. Aside from not having personal ambition, it's important that you care for everybody else. This definitely comes after the previous trait, because if it really is all about the cause, you can end up doing terrible things in the name of the cause. The cause is not more important than human beings are. As great, as noble as the cause may be, how many of his own citizens did Stalin kill in the name of communism? Everyone knows he killed more people than Hitler did. And they were his own citizens. in the name of the people, it's the name of the people. Communism is for the people. Good, he was a madman. 1 second, where did that come from? Others have done the same. Not to those proportions. When the cause becomes more important to you than human beings, then something's not right. Gotta get the job done. Step on everyone. You gotta care for people. Now, there's a problem. Because you can't do anything good for the Jewish people without somebody being hurt. There's always someone that believes that you're doing this at his expense. You can't do anything for the Jewish people without making enemies. It's the way it is. So that's it. The Bein Adam L'Chavero stands in the way of all progress. Is that what it is? There's a big difference between having people that disagree with you, even passionately, and not caring about other people. Because people have their illusions, that's not your problem. But you don't really hurt people. You want to open an outreach center in the city. What's doing in the city? Oh, there's this old rabbi who believes he's doing outreach. He may have been relevant 70 years ago, but he's out of touch, attracting no one, giving the same old sermons he always did. Apparently he forgot to retire. It's very common. Rabbis often forget to retire. That's it, you can't do anything in town. Because it's all his. You're very polite, very nice, but listen there. Just because he's living in some illusion, thinking that he's doing major outreach work when you know he's doing nothing, you open up. Politely, with a lot of respect to him. Do you operate out of his shul? No. That's insensitive. Show him a lot of honor and respect. It would even be good to give him credit for things we do. Remember, if you're really selfless and doing it for the cause, what's the difference who gets the credit? You don't step on people. You don't have to wait to get everyone to agree to what you're doing. You can't step on people. We've seen this when we people in Klal Yisrael, where they really believed that something had to be done, they wouldn't go ahead with it unless there was some solution for those who would get hurt otherwise. By the way, the same goes for your family. Often people take up a cause and they're not there for their wife and kids. Your care for the Jewish people begins at home. You can enlist them in it. They should share your excitement. That would be great. But to neglect them? I was in disbelief. We had at our table a very dedicated and successful Makariv. And his daughter who was struggling. And then she confronted him point blank and asked him, if you had to choose between me and the Jewish people, between me and your work in outreach, who would you choose? And he said, outreach. I was in disbelief. I don't get it. You know, it's a similar thing. Often doing outreach means moving to a place that's going to make life difficult for your wife and kids. They've got to be on board. In terms of your wife, she's really got to be on board. In terms of your kids, you've got to make sure that it's possible. You've got to be compassionate. Interesting thing. Miriam is accused of speaking Lashon Hara on Moshe Rabbeinu. Why did he divorce his wife? Hashem comes along and shows her that it was Lashon Hara. She becomes a leper. What went on there? Miriam felt that Moshe Rabbeinu put his responsibilities for the Jewish people before his family. And that was a legitimate claim if it were true. Hashem's answer to her was that he's an exception. Because he is the one that has to bring Torah down from heaven. He is the one that has to be on a certain level and a relationship with Hashem where they're constantly in conversation. He's an exception. It's not because of leadership, it's because of that level of prophecy. Which is very clear. Were it not for that, Miriam was right. To neglect one's family because they want to do something for the Jewish people is unacceptable. This one's wife and kids. Parents. We have an obligation to take care of them. Especially parents get older. It's a responsibility. Can't be neglected. It was known for years the Lubavitcher Rebbe would go shopping every morning to bring his mother breakfast. He'd go to the grocery every morning. This concept that someone is too important than to be involved in the trivial issues around the house, that's not Jewish. That's not leadership to us. That's arrogance. And again, it's not limited to family. Of course, it begins with family. There's no such thing as leadership in a way that you just step on anyone that gets in your way. Talk about him a lot more. We find with David HaMelech, he's the king. All kings have to come from him. So when he was running away, he had to flee because his son Avshalom declared himself king, and David had to run for his life. So we find the encounter with Shimei ben Gera. Shimei ben Gera was the head of the Sanhedrin, and he sees King David and he curses him. So the way Chazal understand the encounter, David HaMelech had a dilemma. On the one hand, this person had just cursed the king. Halach is off with his head. Halach is he's Chayav Misa, gotta kill him. On the other hand, on a personal level, David HaMelech felt it was the wrong thing to do. He held no animosity against him. He respected him, he cared for him. What can you do? He was on the wrong side. So he was torn between the compassion and the need to have him killed. So what did he do? He took an oath, he swore, I will not kill you. And what does King David tell the people with him? He says he didn't do it, Hashem wanted him to. I have to go figure out why Hashem wanted me to be cursed. In his last will and testament, he tells Shlomo, make sure that you find some way of getting rid of Shimei ben Gera. Because, listen, he cursed the king. He can't live. So David HaMelech had to find a way that he can be killed without David HaMelech doing it directly. He didn't want to feel that this was a personal vendetta. He didn't want to feel like I'm taking revenge because he cursed me. On a personal level, he held no grudge against him. The problem was Melech Shemachal al Kvodo, a king does not have the right to pardon anybody. someone who showed disrespect for the king, because the kingdom is not his, it's representing the Jewish nation. The king does not have the right to go forego something on behalf of the Jewish nation.
So why was he allowed to take that out?
Because he felt that on a personal level, he doesn't want to harm him. He cared for him, he understood it. So I'm not going to do it, I'm going to make sure that Shlomo kills him after I'm gone.
And that didn't do anything to the Malchus, like the delaying of the killing of it?
No. It had to be done, you can take your time. Why? I don't know, good question. So a leader must be selfless and compassionate. He's got to care. He's got to care about the people. The cause can never be bigger than people. Oh, I started off with the communists with the communists. Because that style. You ever read Animal Farm?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. The cause is more important than the people or the animals. And that is unacceptable. It's remarkable. All of our greats, all the great people in Klal Yisrael, all of our leaders over all the generations, there were two things they all had. They had different personalities. They had often different ideologies within Judaism. There are two traits they all had and continue to have. Number one, they were crazy about Torah study. They all learned and learned and learned and learned. And number two, despite the fact that they didn't waste time and always learned, they cared so much about people and gave so much time to people. When I say people, I mean the everyman. They were not in their ivory towers. They all cared about the everyman. Everybody came to them with their personal issues and their problems, their disagreements. Chaim Ozer-Grodzinski, who he was the leader just before the war in Europe. He was the leader of the world of the yeshivas. A brilliant human being. He was ambidextrous. I heard these stories, but I also met someone who actually saw this happen. He was writing a letter with his right hand, another letter with his left hand, and conversing with somebody all at the same time. He was just a wild genius. What is this? Reb Chaim Ozer-Grodzinski. Of his chidushim, it's one volume with his letters. His chidushim, they're good, but so another one of the biggies was from Meir Alec. Once asked him, like, you're so smart, why'd you write so little? So he told him, you want to see my chidushim? And he showed him a closet full of letters that he had gotten from widows, from orphans, of people that needed help. He said, these are the letters I'm going to take with me to Olam Haba. This is what it's about. He spent a good part of his day just taking care of individuals. Everyone came to him with their personal problems. It was across the board. I mean, I remember the Gedolei Yisrael that I knew here in Eretz Yisrael. The one I saw from Abkal Chaim Shmulev, Zichrono Livracha, in the near, we grew up in the building. We lived in the same building as him. He lived in the yeshiva. We saw all the goings on. He did not say he learned day and night. He did not stop learning. He was walking, he was learning, he was talking. He was always learning. Always learning. except if someone came in to talk to him, he would stop and listen. He would cry with people. He would cry with people who came to give him the stories. He would cry with them. What happened to that? Every moment is precious. Yeah, every moment is precious. Either you learn or you're there for somebody else. Shlomo Zalman also learned. I mean, he wrote svarim on everything. You should have seen what his house looked like. It was open to the public. He had hours that he accepted people from the afternoon till way after midnight. Collection of people that came, all kinds, all colors, all. He had the time and the patience for everybody. Leadership means compassion. Leadership means you care. If you don't care, you're not a leader. If you don't care, then you're doing your own thing. Moshe Feinstein, his compassion is legendary. Legendary. He cared about little kids, anyone around him. After he passed away, a woman who lived in his building said her biggest problem was she had to make sure she wasn't around going out of the building when Moshe was there, because every time she was there, he would open the door for her. The Gadol door is opening the door for this woman that lives in the building. She was so embarrassed. She tried to avoid it. So get the message. It began with selflessness, meaning it's about the cause, it's not about personal ambition. Second, even if it's about the cause, you cannot neglect people. Not your family, certainly not everybody else in the whole nation. You got to care about people, you have to have time to take care of their needs. And you can't just step on people in the name of the cause. If the cause is more important than human beings, you know you're wrong. People are going to lose their jobs because of you. Find them other jobs. Care about them. How are you going to support their families? But Noah Weinberg, it was into his cause. And he had many enemies. Many people double-crossed him, including employees. There was a time, before my days, there was a time he was on one of his fundraising trips, he came back and there was someone else sitting in his office in his place. Someone just decided to take over the yeshiva. He didn't like the way it ran the place. He decided he's taking over. I mean, insane. I remember we had somebody that was employed, and he did whatever he could to badmouth the organization. He was working in a city, doing outreach in the name of Aish. Anyway, he had to be fired. There was no choice. So Noah told finance that they've got to set up a system of severance for him. So they asked him, what's going on here? And the guy was fired because he was doing damage to the institution. What do you have to give him severance for? So he says, okay, but how's he supposed to support his family? That's illegal. Gotta fire someone. Gotta make sure his family has money. Okay, guys, you gotta be leaders, you gotta care. You gotta care about human beings. The cause is never bigger than human beings. Remember that. Yeah.
Maybe it's a little different, but Moshe Rabbeinu obviously demonstrated characteristics of being a leader in the situation where Hashem wanted to destroy all of the Jews for the sake of the Torah, and I'll make you into a great nation. So it seems like the cause of the Torah, which you could say is the purpose of the world, but he was going to kill all of the Jews.
And Moshe said no. It was the right thing.
Moshe understand. What about Hashem?
Hashem gave in. It means Hashem said it was the right thing. The simple way of reading it is Hashem gave you an opportunity to make that statement, to make that choice. Remember, it's in the Torah. That means it's right. Moshe is right.
Does pursuing the cause not come with any sacrifice for family?
There's always some sacrifice, but they got to be on board. There's a difference between things not being ideal versus really hurting them. They have to be on board. Yeah.
What about like fathers in the army who keep on going back and back and back for Miluim, and they don't have time for their families because they want to defend quality stuff?
I don't think they're leaving their families only because they want to defend colleagues' role. I think they're leaving their families because they got a draft notice.
But they can
They
stay
believe in
home.
It's not so that they believe in the cause. There's no question they believe in the cause.
Yeah.
But the reason they're neglecting their families is because they're being told that they have to. The question is there some other way? Is there some alternative? But it's terrible. Thousands of kids are suffering terribly because of it. The issue is not a cause. The issue is that we're at war. I don't think they would have stood up and said, my plan is to go fight for the Jewish nation and forget my family. I would hope. Okay.